Hi everybody, I'm Marbozir and welcome back to Let's Play Shadowrun Hong Kong. So, let's continue where we left off, and before we start talking with people, let's just get some rest. So we can do it right now. A stabbing pain in your stomach jolts you awake. Your entire abdomen is cramping up. You roll in your cot, willing the shooting pains that radiate from your stomach to go away. Your mouth is bone dry and your tongue is swollen. It feels thick and inarticulate, like a useless slab of meat. A quick glance at your PDA tells you that it's 4 AM. Outside of your cabin, the rest of Hioi sleeps. All that you remember of the dream that you awoke from is a horrible, unfulfilled yearning and a need to go where you were going first. Others were behind you. You could feel the heat of their breath on your neck. If you were to beat them to your destination, you could slam the door in their faces, keep them out and away from what was yours. But if they overtook you, you would feel that terrible longing forever. As you grasp at your last fleeting memories of the dream, a wave of exhaustion washes over you. It feels like you've been drugged. You collapse back into your cot and into a black, dreamless sleep. When you open your eyes again, the sun filters in under your door. It's morning. Okay then. So as usual, let's have a chat with Duncan because he's the closest. You find Wo sitting on his bed and staring at the floor when you come to his cabin. He rubs his head up and back, occasionally stopping to softly bounce his palm against his forehead. When he notices you, he closes his eyes and shakes his head. Not in the mood to talk right now. I could wrap my brain around this Edward Sang thing. Tough finding out Raymond isn't who we thought he was. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was thinking. 16 years. We lived with him 16 years, and we never knew the man. 16 motherfucking years. I just gotta think, work through this. Alright. Let's go upstairs then and have a chat with Isobel. You enter Isobel's cabin to find her jacked into the octopus. Her body slouches, motionless, tethered to the machine. The computer's large display flickers to life again, just as it did last time. Isobel's avatar fills the screen. This isn't helping. The avatar frowns down on you, a look of supreme disillusionment on its face. I'm decking. I'm in my safe space, and it doesn't help. The memories are just as painful here as they are in the real world. Your memories are a part of you. Decking doesn't make you leave that behind. No, I guess it doesn't. It fucking should though. I can't handle not having a way to escape from this. So what are you doing? What are you going to do about it? I don't know, okay? I just don't. You know what? Hang on. Isobel's body shudders. A familiar tremor. Her consciousness is flooding back out of the matrix and into her meat. Her eyes flutter, and she takes a sharp breath. Slowly, shakily, she rises from her perch on the floor. You're here with more questions, right? I'm sure that you are. Why else would you be bothering me? So spit them out, and I'll go digging around in that cesspit that I call a memory. Who knows, maybe we'll find a clue. Calm down, Iz. We're on the same side here. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. This isn't the person that I want to be. I'll be okay. I can handle this. Just ask me your questions, okay? Let's get this ball rolling. Any thoughts about that last run? You know, that boxing run is the kind of thing you'd never see outside of China. Nobody's gonna hire you to run around tilting paintings and breaking potted plants in Stockholm or Florence. Here though, that stuff has real power. I've seen it work. A few subtle shifts in geomancy can make or break projects, people, even companies. I don't have any idea how it works, but I've seen too many people's fortunes shift as soon as Feng Shui Master gets involved. I'm not sure how much it can affect the fortunes of a company as big as boxing, but even a small shift is enough to cost a company like that millions of nuyen. Anything else you wanted to know? Well, let's have a chat about the walled city, maybe. Go on. Gobet told me about your escape from the walled city, just like you said she would. Gobet said that you didn't want her to guide your parents out of the walled city, that you wanted them left behind. She nods miserably. Yes, but not for anything that they'd done. My parents were good people. They fled Somalia to try and find a better life for their children. It wasn't their fault that they wound up in the walled city. I wanted them left behind for me. For you. What do you mean by that? Isn't it obvious? She taps her temple. This. I knew what I was going to have done. I'd planned it well in advance. After I got out, I was going to find someone who could make my childhood go away. How would that have stuck with if my parents were around? If I had a living reminder right there, next to me, it wouldn't have. So they had to stay. That's cold. You did what you have to do. You were just a kid. I probably would have made the same decision in your shoes. Okay, you did what you had to do. Yeah, I did. Besides, I was sure that they'd be fine. They were my parents. Grown-ups. They'd be alright. Before you ask, I checked. They're gone now. I can't go riding their rescue. I made a decision when I was a kid. It felt like the right one at the time, and now I have to live with it. Until you store the memories again, you mean? Yeah, until then. Now, let's change the subject, okay? Anything else would be fine. Gobet told me about your escape. Yeah? I'm not surprised. Why are you telling me about it? Because I want to get your side of the story? Alright, fine. If that's what you want. The walled city was a hellhole, you already know that. But for all its failings, it was a good teacher. It taught me to hide, to stay small and unnoticed and insulated, to survive. It taught me that the fish on the perimeter of the school get eaten. That sticking your neck out is a fool's errand, but that even fools can have their uses. It also taught me to recognize a stronger person when I meet one, and how to use that strength for my own benefit. So when I met Gobet, I knew that she had something I didn't. Confidence? Sure, that. And her connection to Rat. Everything about her, really. We were different people then, still are now, but the differences were even more pronounced when we were kids. Care to elaborate on that? Gobet was playful and carefree. She could hold her own in a scrape, but she mostly saw life as a game. As for me, well, I knew that it wasn't. I couldn't have been more than 9 or 10 at the time, but even at that age, I saw Gobet for what she represented, what she could be. And what was that? My own personal road out of the walled city, a path to freedom disguised as a little girl with dreadlocks. As it turned out, I was right. She pauses. Her eyes peel to the ground and she tightens her hands into fists. Ever since I unlocked these damn memories, I can't go 10 minutes without thinking about what might have happened if I hadn't followed Gobet out of that place. It's like a vicious cycle, running over and over in my head. I hate it, but it won't stop. I feel guilty. You needed help and you took it. That's nothing to be ashamed of. It's bothering you because it's still fresh. Give it some time. We all lean on each other. It's how we survive in the shadows. Get over it. Well, you needed help and you took it. Gives me another reason to feel grateful to her. I guess that's something. I've always known that I owed Gobet, but now I remember how much and why. Anyway, that's my side of the story. I hope that it satisfied your curiosity. Now let's move on. Why did you have your memories locked away? Well, we kind of know that. Why do you think? They were awful, traumatic. I'm not talking about personal trauma here. I was fortunate enough to avoid the fates of many of my peers. I didn't get pressed into service in a brothel. The orang-leggers didn't get me. I only had to watch one of my siblings die. So yeah, it could have been worse. But that doesn't make the early life in Walled City any easier to bear. Hang on, you watched one of your siblings die. Yes, my older brother. Heroin overdose. He was 19, almost the same age that I am now. That's awful. I almost envied him. He got out easy compared to a lot of people who die in the walled city. There was no violence. He wasn't taken by organ leggers or gunned down by the triads. He just put a spike in his arm, depressed the plunger, and stopped breathing. I'm sorry. Don't be. His death was a lesson, and I did my best to learn from it. Everything that happened in my childhood was that way. A lesson in disguise. Lessons about life. Lessons about impermanence and the random cruelty of life. Lessons about what a huge mistake it is to get attached and how to prioritize your own survival no matter what. You're speaking my language. I know, we all carry the same scars. You and me and Gunshow and Gobet. Some run bigger and deeper than others, but we've all got them. I don't want mine anymore. And that's enough of that. Ask me something else, Hulk. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Well, that's all for now. Please, to be honest, anything else would be preferable. Any questions about the walled city? No, that's all for now. Alright. Be well. So, Gobet, and then we can check on Gaicho and Rakter. Gobet glances up at the sound of your approach. A slight smile crosses her face. Hey, pal. Are you ready for your next lesson? Sure, why not? Straight to business. I like that. Good. This one is about people like Auntie Cheng and why we need them. There won't be a Q&A session after this story, but I want you to listen up. It's important. I'm all ears. Alright, so here's the upfront lesson. Fixers are important. You can't just go to a Johnson yourself and get a job. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. It's a bad idea all around. Okay, go on. The reason why it's a bad idea to cut people like Auntie Cheng out is because you need someone to vet your clients. That's important. It protects the whole team. You remember the lesson from last time, the one about Sui and the shiny object. How could I forget? Well, after the run was over, we went back to the sinking ship for some R&R. Sui had told us that the client would be sending a boat to collect the shiny object in the morning. All that we had to do was keep the thing safe until the handoff. We were in a celebratory mode. We'd killed an evil wizard and stolen priceless artifact. A good night's work by anyone's standards. Hono and Egret got good and drunk in record time. So he went back to his cabin with the shiny object to, I don't know, stare at it for a while or something. I retired to my cabin and crashed out. It had been a long night. I remember waking up to sounds. Yelling, maybe? I was groggy, and yet they were far away. I couldn't quite make them out. The clock said 4:30 AM. People were always partying on the raft. Playing loud music, shooting off fireworks, that kind of thing. So loud noises early in the morning weren't unusual. But something felt off, somehow. Off? How so? It's hard to describe. A queasy feeling in the pit of my stomach, and an elevated heartbeat. Rapid, shallow breath. It was a lot like a panic attack, really. Not the kind of thing that you can sleep through. So I got up to investigate. If something was wrong, I wanted to know. And if it wasn't, I figured that I might as well get in on the party. I stepped out into the hallway and my foot slipped. I came down hard, landed on my ass, and found myself sitting in a pool of blood. That's not good. No, it was pretty bad. So it was pretty obvious by this point that something had gone horribly wrong. My first thought was that the shiny object might have, I don't know, unleashed something. After what I saw it do in the warehouse, I wouldn't have been surprised. I shook that off pretty quick though. I knew what this was. Our client was playing us. He'd hired us to steal the thing, and rather than paying us for the job, he'd sent another team to take it away. So what did you do? I got up and beelined for Malvina's cabin. She was the closest thing to that the sinking ship had to a leader and the strongest rat shaman on the raft. Why go to her? Why not head straight to Sui's cabin? Because I'm not an idiot. Sorry, that wasn't aimed at you. But think about it for a second. If there was a retrieval team coming for the shiny object, and they were strong enough to handle Zoe while he was holding it, what chance would I have of stopping them? I figured that it was time to bring out the big guns. Malvina was the one whom I could get them from. I passed some pretty bad stuff on my way down to Malvina's cabin. It was old man's vault all over again. The torn up bodies, the blood-soaked floors. I saw people who'd been cut apart with machetes, scorch marks on the container walls. Deep down in the pit of my gut, I could feel the thrumming vibration of the shiny object, that heartbeat feeling that I had in the warehouse. It was back, and stronger than ever. Whatever that rock was, it was awake. That'd been my cue to bail out. I wouldn't have wanted anything to do with that thing. Did you make it to Malvina's cabin? Yes. I burst through the door, all ready to spread the news, and someone smashed a gun into my face. It was Cadmus, my friend. He jammed the muzzle of his super warhawk into my cheek so hard it hurt, and grabbed me by the belt with his other hand. I wasn't going anywhere. Just over his shoulder, I saw Malvina. She didn't look amused. Some friends. Yeah, well, they were under a lot of stress at the time, and I had just crashed through their door like a charging rhinoceros. Adrenaline and abject terror can make a girl do some stupid things, I'll tell you what. Anyway, it wasn't an attack. There were no hostile invaders on the sinking ship, and our client had nothing to do with what was going on. Turns out there was no client. Sui had lied to us, to me, because he wanted the shiny object for himself. What he wanted to do was take the sinking ship away from Malvina. And so he used us to steal him something that he could use to foment a mutiny. She pauses for a moment, gathers her rats in her hands, and lifts them to her shoulders. They scurry over the leather of her coat and disappear into her hair. As it turns out, betrayal hurts, Seattle. Malvina felt it, and I felt it too. Zoe had been a friend. I'd just risked my life to save his, like 4 hours ago, and he'd tricked me into helping him do something unthinkable. Why do you think he did it? Why all of this over a heap of junk floating in the bay? I don't know. Maybe he'd gone toxic. Maybe he got ambitious and wanted to be the king of our little aquatic hill. He didn't discuss it with me first or anything. I'd be willing to bet that something had gotten rotten in Zoe long before we ever met. He was pretty damn good at hiding it. He could have been mentally ill. Maybe it happened recently. Maybe there wasn't a good reason. People do terrible things every day. Yeah, they do. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter why he did what he did. All that matters is that he did it. So what did you do? What could I do? I didn't have a whole lot of options, and Cadmus was kind of on the edge, like red face and screaming, so I opened my mouth and I fast talked my way out of it. I started off by doubling down on my loyalty to Malvina, Cadmus, and the status quo on the sinking ship, swearing my undying friendship. You know the drill. I did a good job of it, but they still looked a little bit iffy. Iffy with a warhawk is bad. I volunteered to prove myself by stealing the shiny object back from Zoe. That was brave of you. I know, right? Not my style at all. But then, I didn't really have a choice. I'd inadvertently helped to arm the bastard who was stealing our friends and neighbors apart. I don't think I could have cleared my name without taking his weapon away again. It was a hell of a night. I don't want to get into too many gory details. Friends died. Hell, friends killed each other. It was brother against brother, all that jazz. And Zoe's indiscriminate use of the shiny object let a lot of things into this world that shouldn't have been. Did you get a good view of them this time? So did you wind up stealing the thing back? Yes, it wasn't easy, but I got it. And I took it back to Malvina. She put the thing to better use than Zoe ever did. She took to the thing like she'd grown up using it. We lost dozens of people. but Sui's side lost more. Cadmus was critically wounded, but he pulled through. After the skirmish, Malvina held an assembly. She told everybody that there'd be new rules for life on the raft. Anyone who refused to follow them could leave. And if you broke them, you were done. The rules of the sea and all that. After the pronouncement, she turned on the surviving mutineers. Hono was one of them. He'd been in Sui's plan the whole time. She didn't kill them, but she did exile them from the sinking ship. And for people in our economic bracket, that was as good as a one-way trip to the walled city. I'd be willing to bet they're all dead by now. In the wake of Malvina's ultimatum, 5 survivors left the sinking ship. I was one of them. Why did you leave? I had to go. We may have washed the blood off the decks, but the energy of the sinking ship had changed. It wasn't the carefree haven I'd loved anymore. And as sensible as Malvina's rules were, I wasn't up to living under them. We parted on good but sad terms. And, as you'd expect, we drifted apart over the years. It's funny, I hadn't even thought of Malvina or the sinking ship in years, not until I decided to teach you your previous lesson, and it all came flooding back in. She pauses. That's the story. It's finished, but I wanna circle back on the lesson that I gave you up front because it's important. We need Auntie Cheng to bring us work. That's obvious, but we also need her to keep us honest. To be sure that we, on the team, are playing straight with one another. Auntie Cheng's reputation rides on the legitimacy of the jobs that she brings us, and that, more than anything, is why we need her. If we didn't have Auntie Cheng or someone like her, we'd eventually tear ourselves apart. It happened on the sinking ship. It could happen in Hioi. So anyway, that's the lesson. If you've got follow-up questions, go ahead and ask them. So what happened with the guy? That walking colostomy bug was already dead, eaten by his own monsters after I took the shiny object away. Turns out, he wasn't much good at controlling them without it. He didn't even live long enough to watch his mutiny fail. Any thoughts about that last run? It always surprises me how much corporations will pay to screw up a competitor's feng shui. Hell, they'll even take each other to court over architecture that blocks chi. It has real impact though. A little shift here and there might not seem like much, but even fractions of a penny lost on their stock value is millions. I could see us change the flow of chi in that building, but I still have no idea how to make it work for me. You need a real specialist for that, like a Taoist priest or something. Based on what I could see though, I think Wuxin's fortunes still wane, at least for the time being. They'll fix what we broke eventually, but until then, there may be a rush of stubbed toes. So, what else did you want to chat about? What did Malvina do with the shiny object? Well, first she used it to get rid of the things that Sui had let loose. Then she put it away for safekeeping. It's probably still there on the sinking ship, ensconced in some shrine or other, held under lock and key. She should have tossed the thing into the bay. At least she's keeping it safe. I'd have preferred if she'd ditched the thing, but in the end, that wasn't my choice to make. From what I've heard, she's still in power over there, so I guess that worked out okay. Okay? Sure, and Seattle, thanks for listening. These lessons are for your benefit, but I think that they help me too. And it's nice to be taken seriously every now and then. No problem. Yeah, me too. Now get a move on. I've got Gobet things to do. Okay, so that was that. Let's have a look at the mission computer, and we still need to chat with Rakter and Gaicho. So what do we have here? Let's check some of these mails. So... this one? From Kindly Cheng. I hope you're enjoying your newfound success in the shadows. I've got another job for you, one that should prove very lucrative indeed. I've been contacted by an employee of the Eastern Tiger Corporation, and he needs you to steal some research data and biological samples from his employer. The man's name is Tigath Wright. Until recently, he was a researcher on a genetic engineering project. He was cagey with the details, but I gather that it centered around phenotypic alteration of postnatal genetic enhancement. Unfortunately for Wright, he's got a conscience. Stupid man. Luckily for us, he's willing to pay to have his conscience assuaged. Wright's project was apparently quite horrible. Experiments on living children, total disregard for biomedical ethics or safety, and when Wright raised concerns, he was taken off the project. He's decided to step outside the bounds of the law and expose the wrongdoing to the world. The snag, you see, is that his wife and the child live in Seoul, not quite the heart of Eastern Tiger's power, but close enough. He's afraid that if he releases the information himself, they'll be taken prisoner and used as leverage. The idiot should have thought of that before, but that's not our problem. The samples and the data are currently on an Eastern Tiger cargo ship, the MV Nalchi, sailing near Hong Kong on their way to Seoul. The storms slowed the ship down, and you don't have to go right away, but don't take too long. Once you have the data and samples, you're to call Wright. I've attached his number. He'll give you instructions on how he wants the information leaked. When you're ready, let me know. I'll arrange transit with Captain Jomo. He's a local Loho Joa pirate and smuggler, but don't let that put you off. He's as good as they get, and they'll have you on that ship without incident. Well, let's take the run then. I might just do this one out of order, so to speak. I'm not sure if all of these are jobs, but I suppose we'll find out later. So, I'm going to finish this part here and continue in next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.